Welcome to Ayat Fatima. Killer Mike's epic shutdown of Sunny Hostin, a daytime TV moment to remember. Sunny Hostin tried her best to derail a meaningful conversation, but what happened next will go down as one of the most epic shutdowns in daytime television history. From twisting words to bringing up unrelated controversies, it was clear that Sunny was determined to stir the pot. But Killer Mike? He wasn't having any of it. Instead of engaging in the usual media theatrics, he responded with facts, composure, and dignity, leaving her completely speechless. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. The setup, a typical segment on The View. It all started like any other segment on The View. The panelists were seated, the audience was engaged, and Sunny Hostin had her trademark gotcha questions locked and loaded. The atmosphere seemed casual, almost routine, as Killer Mike began to share his thoughts on the importance of local elections. He passionately explained how grassroots leadership and community-driven initiatives have a far greater impact on people's daily lives than the political soap opera of Washington, D.C. But Sunny wasn't about to let him finish without interruption. The interruption, Sunny tries to steer the conversation. Right in the middle of a thoughtful and impactful point, Sunny cut him off with her signature line. Well, as a former prosecutor, for anyone familiar with her debating style, that phrase is code for "I'm about to make this about me." Then came the dramatic pause, the sudden shift in tone, and the loaded question, a tactic she has mastered over the years.
I'm a former prosecutor.
Yeah.
And there were some other headlines that came out. And I was very upset about it.
Yeah.
Because it was unnecessary, and you don't do that on that special night.
Yeah.
Especially for what I read about.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna ask you is, there was an incident at the Grammys. It led to you being taken out in handcuffs and arrested. That was wrong. Obviously, it's an ongoing legal matter, so I don't know how much you can say about it.
Well, as a prosecutor, you know I can't say it.
You can't say much. But can you just give us some sort of description, because people are they're talking too much.
I think the backstage was overcrowded. I think the winners were exuberant. And I think security got a little overzealous, and that's all. It's all, you know, it's water under the bridge for me.
Yeah.
But I like to say all of my heroes have been in handcuffs. Malcolm, Martin, Mandela, Medgar. So, you know, I walked out with the same dignity and respect that
Instead of engaging with Killer Mike's actual argument, she brought up a completely irrelevant past incident from his life. It was a blatant attempt to derail the discussion, turn the focus onto him, and put him on the defensive. Killer Mike's calm yet brutal response. But Killer Mike didn't flinch. He didn't get defensive. He didn't even raise his voice. Instead, with unshakable composure, he calmly responded, "You can dislike me, but don't lie on me." And just like that, the entire room shifted. The audience reaction said it all: gasps, murmurs, and then a wave of applause. Sunny's confident smirk quickly faded as she realized her usual tactics weren't working this time. But she wasn't done yet. The second attempt, Sunny pushes harder. Still trying.
I would implore people to just take that from it. Don't dwell on the bad stuff. And the next morning, I spent 3 hours kind of by myself. You know, you're waiting. And the police say, "Oh my God, we've never gotten this many phone calls. People won't have to go to protest. We'll have to move you." They're panicked, and I'm just kind of sitting there, and I begin to invoke thanks. I thank God for bringing me where I was. I thank God for putting me in a space, believe it or not, by myself. Well, I got out that night. I walked out to my wife in the rain. It was like a romance movie. It was dope.
You got some attention recently for being somewhat critical of President Biden, saying you weren't ready to endorse him yet. What's your holdup there?
What's my hold? Well, first of all, I think everyone should focus on hyper-local. We get caught up in the soap opera of federal elections, and that's fine. But if you are concerned with the federal election, you don't know who your city council or your wardsman is, you don't know who your mayor is, and you don't have a good list of state representatives or governor, then you're just a part of whoever wins the Super Bowl or fanfare. So my most important election is going to be in about 1.5 years for who's my mayor going to be. I think that Andre Dickens is doing a great job around housing in Atlanta, and I don't want that to be lost. Even though we have a Republican governor, Brian Kemp, I have a good relationship with him. I like what he's done in terms of Georgia business. We've been leading business amongst all states for the last 10 years, and he brought back the Hope Scholarship and expanded it. So if you're a kid in Georgia, you're poor, you got a B average, you can go to college for free or trade school. In terms of nationally, I'm just kind of doing what my grandfather said, staying out of white folks' business and watching what happens. You know, I'm going to see what happens. If there's a candidate that pops up around September, October that needs a push that's really, and policy-wise is good for us, going to jump up. But for right now, I just don't want to be involved in the soap opera because I'm much too concerned about what's going on in Atlanta.
To regain control of the conversation, Sunny pivoted. She shifted the topic to politics, specifically accusing Killer Mike of being overly critical of President Joe Biden and refusing to endorse him. "What's your holdup?" she asked, her tone dripping with condescension. It was a clear attempt to paint him into a corner, to make him appear unreasonable or politically extreme. But once again, Killer Mike didn't take the bait. Instead, he stayed focused and articulate.
You lost me a little bit with your support of Kemp, but let me tell you this.
Not support of
some of
Kemp.
his policies.
That's some misinformation. You cannot like me, but don't lie on me. I saw someone I really respect, a black woman who's a commentator.
So you don't support him,
and
you
she
like
said,
his policies.
Well, I support
Some specific ones he named.
Beyond it, he's the governor of my state, so I have to be involved with him because I can't divorce myself. But let me say this. If you criticize someone, don't lie. Don't say I didn't support Abrams because I did. Don't say that I don't support Democrats because I've helped get 3 Democratic mayors elected. I've helped get 2 state representatives elected. But if someone is in the king's seat, I'm not going to not have dinner with the king on behalf of my people. I have to do that.
Let me just point some of Biden's achievements out for the black community. Black wealth is up by 60% relative to pre-pandemic, the largest increase on record. Has helped 8 million renters and their families stay in their home, over 40% of whom were black, and the largest effects in majority black neighborhoods like yours. Delivered investment of over $7 billion to support HBCUs, put $1 billion into Head Start. Whoopi's going to like that. A program where more than 28% of children and pregnant women who benefit and identify as black. So those are Biden's accomplishments.
Delivering a response that was both logical and unshakable. "My priority is local leadership. I'm focused on my community and what's happening in my city. If there's a candidate I believe in down the road, I'll support them. But right now, my focus is on Atlanta." It was a simple yet powerful statement, one that didn't fit into the narrative Sunny was trying to push. Sunny's desperation becomes obvious. By this point, you could see Sunny's frustration growing. Her usual tactics, interruptions, diversions, and emotional appeals weren't working. So, she resorted to talking over him. She cut him off mid-sentence, twisted his words, and tried to reframe his comments to fit her angle. But Killer Mike didn't budge. He remained poised, unfazed, and razor-sharp, delivering the ultimate clapback. "Criticize me all you want, but don't twist my words. That's misinformation." The audience erupted. The applause was louder this time, and Sunny was left looking like she had just lost a game of verbal chess. The bigger picture, Killer Mike's lesson on respectful discourse. What made this exchange so powerful wasn't just that Killer Mike handled Sunny's interruptions effortlessly. It was that he brought the conversation back to something much bigger: the need for honesty, integrity, and respect in political discussions. He pointed out that twisting someone's words, bringing up irrelevant past incidents, or trying to trap them in a debate isn't just unproductive, it's outright disrespectful. It was a masterclass in handling media narratives with intelligence and grace. Sunny's last desperate attempt and final defeat. Just when you thought Sunny might finally back down, she tried one last time to steer the conversation her way. But by now, it was obvious she had lost control. This wasn't the first time she had tried to dominate a discussion with her prosecutorial tone and relentless interruptions. But this time, it backfired spectacularly. Instead of making her guest look bad, she ended up exposing herself, revealing her inability to engage in a respectful, meaningful conversation without resorting to media tricks and sensationalism. It was a bad look for her, but a powerful reminder for the rest of us about the importance of listening, debating in good faith, and staying focused on real issues. Final thoughts. The problem with The View. Moments like these highlight why The View continues to face criticism. Instead of fostering thoughtful discussions, the show often feels more like a battleground for drama and political agendas. The hosts seem more interested in creating viral moments than in having balanced, meaningful conversations. And this time, Sunny's usual tactics didn't just fail, they backfired spectacularly. What do you think? So, what's your take? Did Sunny cross the line in this debate, Or was she just doing her job as a talk show host? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.